All right, so are you ready for this? Today we're diving deep, deep into the world of legal cannabis in British Columbia, specifically looking at a Liitle Bud, which is this dispensary chain with well, a pretty quirky approach, I gotta say. Our main source here is their website, and honestly, just the name alone, a Liitle Bud, I mean, come on, you gotta admit it's kind of funny,
Yeah,
right?
it was definitely playful, not what you'd expect.
Right, and they really lean into that small town, friendly vibe. It says on their website they've got locations in White Rock, Whistler, and Summerland, so they're spread out all over.
Yeah, across some pretty prime BC territory, covering a lot of ground. Must have been a strategic choice to hit all those spots.
Definitely seems strategic. But, the question is, how do they stand out? I mean, how do they actually stand out? And what's become, let's face it, a pretty crowded market. Having a catchy name is one thing, but
Yeah, for sure. You need more than just a name. One thing that jumped out at me right away is that they say they're White Rock's first and only licensed non-medical cannabis retail store. That's got to count for something, right? Being the first one in, especially with all the regulations and stuff.
oh, absolutely. First to market. That's a huge advantage.
Exactly. Talk about navigating uncharted territory. They were probably figuring things out as they went. True pioneers in the BC cannabis scene.
The early bud gets the worm, as they say.
Ha ha ha, exactly.
But, everybody claims to be community focused these days, right? Is a little bud actually walking the walk? Or is it just, savvy marketing?
It's a great question. I mean, how do you measure that, right?
Exactly.
Well, I was poking around their website, and they talk about sponsoring global events, partnering with charities. They even offer discounts for seniors.
Oh, wow. Okay.
And check this out. They call their staff bud tenders, which I love, and they apparently give these bud tenders tons of training, like on cannabis strains, consumption methods, even responsible use. It seems like they're putting a lot of emphasis on the knowledge side of things.
Yeah, that's interesting. So they're not just like, here's your weed, see ya. It's more like they're equipping their staff to be, I don't know, like guides or something.
Exactly. Guides, advisors, educators, it's definitely a step beyond just a transaction.
It makes you wonder if that's part of what helps them stand out. It's like they're trying to create a customer experience that goes beyond just, like you said, buying something.
Right. And it seems like it's working. I took a look at some of their online reviews, and people are really raving about how knowledgeable the staff
Oh,
are.
yeah. Like, what are people saying?
One person even called them weed scientists, which I thought was pretty funny.
Weed scientists. Haha, that's great.
But yeah, it's clear they're creating a customer experience that goes beyond just a transaction.
Okay, you've got me intrigued. But what about the actual products? Do they have something for everybody? Or are they catering to a certain, niche? Because cannabis has gotten pretty diverse these days. It's not just your basic flower anymore.
Oh, they've got the whole range for sure. Flour, pre-rolls, vapes, concentrates, edibles, you name it.
Okay, so the full spectrum.
Yeah, the whole shebang. But what I thought was interesting was their selection of high CBD strains. Those are becoming super popular, because they have therapeutic benefits without the psychoactive
No,
effects.
that's true. Yeah. So they're not just targeting, the stereotypical stoner crowd. They're thinking about people who are looking for something specific, maybe for medical reasons, or just to relax without getting high.
Exactly. It really speaks to their commitment to serving a diverse customer base.
It does. And you know what? It makes me think about the whole trend of experiential retail. This idea that it's not enough to just offer a product anymore. You have to create a whole vibe, a feeling. It's almost like they've taken those elements of a small local business and applied them to the world of cannabis,
Mm.
like creating a space where people feel welcome, informed, part of something.
Yeah, part of something bigger. Exactly.
Okay, but good vibes only get you so far. Are their prices competitive?
Mhm.
Because at the end of the day, most people are on a budget.
That's a fair point. Their website doesn't list specific prices, but my guess is they're probably in line with the market average.
Makes sense, especially with the emphasis on quality and, the whole personalized experience.
All right, that all factors in.
So if we had to sum up a Little Bud's unique selling proposition, what would you say it is? What makes them stand out from all the other dispensaries popping up?
I'd say it's a combination of things. Based on their website, those awesome reviews we talked about and everything we've discussed so far, it seems like their key differentiators are that community focus, having knowledgeable staff who can act as advisors, and really focusing on finding the right product for each person. It's less about just selling cannabis and more about understanding their customers' needs.
So they're not just selling cannabis, they're selling like expertise and a sense of belonging. Pretty clever.
That's definitely a smart strategy. And it makes you wonder, In an industry that's, exploding and getting more competitive all the time, how important are those human elements to building a brand that really resonates with customers?
Ooh, that's a great question. And one we'll definitely unpack as we continue our deep dive into a Little Bud. But before we go there, I was looking at the photos on their website, of their storefront, and it doesn't look like your typical dispensary at all.
It's very, I don't know, how would you even describe it?
It's like bright and welcoming.
Yeah, like a boutique or something.
Yeah. Exactly, like a boutique, yeah.
It's got that like modern minimalist aesthetic, very inviting.
It is, yeah. You'd feel comfortable walking in there.
Totally. If it's their whole brand, that
Yeah.
approachable, friendly vibe, like you could walk in there and ask any question, even if you were like a total newbie.
Which, let's face it, a lot of people probably are.
Oh, yeah, for sure. Cannabis is still pretty new to the legal market.
It is. There's definitely a learning curve for a lot of people.
Yeah, absolutely.
Speaking of learning, I noticed a Little Bud has a whole section on their website for cannabis education.
Oh, that's smart.
It is, right?
Yeah, by giving people like reliable information and stuff, they're basically positioning themselves as a resource.
A trusted resource, right?
Yeah, exactly. It builds trust. It's like they're saying, hey, we're not just here to sell you something.
Right.
We actually want you to understand this stuff.
I love that. It's like they're taking the mystery out of cannabis, making it more approachable for everyone.
Demystifying it, yeah.
And it's not just about the customers either, right? They seem to be really aware of, their environmental impact.
Oh, yeah, they mentioned that on their website.
Yeah.
Prioritizing eco-friendly practices, sourcing from responsible growers, all that.
That's a big deal for a lot of people these days.
Huge, especially for people who are, environmentally conscious.
It shows they're thinking about the bigger picture.
Yeah, definitely.
All right, so we've got the community focus, the knowledgeable staff, education, sustainability. It's like they've thought of everything.
They really have, it seems like it. And don't forget delivery service.
Oh, that's right, yeah.
That's a big one. Super convenient, especially for people who, prefer to shop from home.
And it extends their reach, right?
It does, yeah. They're not just limited to one type of customer.
So they're all about creating options, making cannabis accessible.
It's almost like they've created this whole cannabis culture that's built on like trust and shared experience.
It's interesting, right? Because you think of cannabis and you often think of these big corporations or whatever.
Yeah, mass production.
Right, exactly. But they've brought it back to a human level.
Yeah, like a small business.
It's like walking into your favorite local bookstore, or coffee shop. That feeling of warmth.
Exactly. That sense of familiarity, like you belong there.
And I think that's really powerful, especially in an industry that can feel overwhelming to a lot of people.
Oh, for sure. Remember that first time you walked into a dispensary? So much to take in.
Oh my gosh, yeah. Talk about sensory overload. So many different strains, so many different ways to consume it. It's like, where do I even start?
Totally. It can be super daunting. And that's where a Little Bud really shines. They're not just like, here's your product, good luck.
Right.
They take the time to understand, what you're looking for, explain your options.
Help you find the perfect fit.
Yeah, exactly. They're like cannabis concierges.
Cannabis concierge. I love it.
Right. That extra level of care, it really makes a difference.
And it's clearly resonating with their customers based on those reviews.
It is, yeah. People appreciate that human touch.
That personal connection.
Totally.
So it's a good reminder that no matter what you're selling, whether it's cannabis or coffee or whatever, people crave that human connection.
We do. It's a basic human need, that feeling of belonging, of being part of something.
Exactly. And that's what a Little Bud seems to have tapped into. They've taken a product that could be just, another commodity.
Yeah, easily.
And they've turned it into something much more meaningful.
An experience.
An experience, yeah. Okay, so we've covered a lot of ground here, but before we wrap up this deep dive, okay, so think about this for a second. Think about those places, those businesses you just love, the ones you keep going back to. What is it about them, do you think?
That's a good question.
Right.
Is it the product? The price?
Yeah, is it just that?
Or is there something more? Like, how do they make you feel when you're there?
I bet a big part of it is that sense of connection you get.
Right? Oh, absolutely. Like that feeling of this is my spot.
Exactly.
Maybe it's that barista who knows your order, or the bookstore owner with the perfect recommendations. Or maybe it's like that local pub where everybody knows your name. That whole cheers thing.
Yeah, totally. It's that sense of community, like you're more than just a customer.
Yeah.
And that's what a Little Bud seems to have gotten right. I mean, they could have just treated cannabis like any other product.
Right.
But they didn't. They've made it, well, I don't know, more meaningful.
It's like they turned a transaction into an experience.
And in a world that's all about algorithms and, just buying stuff online, that human connection is pretty refreshing,
Mm.
isn't it?
Oh, for sure.
It's a good reminder that no matter what we're talking about, whether it's cannabis or coffee or books or whatever, we all crave that, that little bud of human connection,
Well said.
that shared experience,
Yeah.
that sense of belonging.
That's what keeps us coming back for more.
And on that note, I think it's time to wrap up this deep dive. We hope you enjoyed exploring the world of a little bud with us today.
And maybe it sparked some ideas about, the businesses you support and the kind of world you want to be a part of.
That's what it's all about. Until next time, keep exploring, and remember, knowledge is power, especially when it's shared.